Hi guys, so I'll be teaching you how to cut this wide loose pant. Most people call it palazzo, but I call it a loose wide pant because palazzos are much bigger and wider than this. So I'll be using 2 yards of Ankara fabric for this, and welcome back to my channel. So I'll go ahead to show you the necessary measurement that you need: the waist, the hip, and then the length. All right. So for my waist, my hip will become my waist. So what do I mean? Initially my hip is 40.5. Now for cutting this trouser, my waist will now become my hip, which is 40.5. And then for my hip is 40.5. I will add 3 inches, additional 3 inches. Okay, is a must. You can also do 4 inches, but the maximum should be 4 inches. So I decided to go with 3 inches, then added my sewing allowance. Your sewing allowance could be 1 inch, it could also be 1.5. For the sake of this tutorial, I'll be adding 3 inches plus 1.5 for my sewing allowance. So my hip will become 43.5. okay, then the length of my trouser will be 44.5. So this is all you need for this loose wide pants. Don't mind me that I'm writing it a palazzo trouser. You can also call it palazzo, but palazzos are much wider. All right, so I'll go ahead to now show you how to fold. The first folding will require you to measure this, so that this allows you not to waste your fabric. So what you do is, first of all, you measure 2 inches for your crotch curve, and I'm doing this to show you so that you don't waste your fabric when you're folding the first one. So you do 2 inches for your crotch curve, and then that's your hip, that is 43.5. you go ahead to divide it into 4. So I will be using 11, which is like 44. So but I'll just mark 11. So what it means is your hip divided by 4, you measure it, okay, and I'll mark 11. All right, then I'm just showing you how to manage your fabric so that you don't waste it while folding. And then I'm going to use 1.5 for my seam allowance. So this is what I will need for my first folding, and this allows me not to waste my fabric. And then we go ahead to first iron. Remember, we iron and we notch. I'll go ahead to mark out the border line, so this allows me to get a straight line. And after that, I'll be having a 45.5 as the full length of this Ankara. Okay, and then I'll go ahead to mark 2 inches all the way. I'll mark 2 inches. This is my crotch curve, and then my crotch curve is 11, and then my hip is 9. I hope you understand what I'm doing. I just mark 9 for my hip, and then my crotch 11. So I'm going to still tell you more about this crotch measurement, okay, but let's continue. So now I've done the marking of the crotch and then the hip. I used 11, and then I'm going to use my curve ruler to curve. All right, I hope you understand what I'm doing. Is very, very simple. Now I'm going to now take my measurement, but then I'll have to iron. Please make sure that you iron at every interval. Now for my hip, like I said, you divide your hip by 4. So 43.5 will be giving us around 10.75. So I'll mark it and then add my 1.5 sewing allowance. For my waist, I'll mark 40.5 divided by 4. I will mark it and then mark my 1.5 sewing allowance. All right, then I'm going to use my stretch ruler, and then I'll connect all the lines, connecting from the hip to the waist and then all the way straight down. So you do the first straight down, all right, just like I'm doing now. So the next thing I'm going to do is to come at the base and minus 1.5. Then from that crotch line, I will join to that 1.5 at the base. I hope you understand. It's very simple, very, very simple. Now for the base of my trouser, I don't want it to be so wide. I'll go here and minus, at this point I minus 1.5, Okay, this is for the sake of this tutorial. You can minus more than that or lesser than that, or even leave it at that. At this other point, I'm also going to maybe minus or leave it at that. For the sake of this tutorial, I didn't minus. I just love the way it is, but you can minus or you leave yours that way. So basically, this is how you cut the front panel of your wide loose trouser. All right, now I'm trimming off the down part, the little excess there, and then I'm going to go ahead to iron and notch. Remember, if you don't take out anything, please iron and notch, very important. Now for the back, I'm going to fold my back, and then I'm going to use the front panel to determine that I do not waste this back panel. So I will show you what you just need to do. I'm placing the front trouser panel on this fabric. Okay, now for the sake of this tutorial, this fabric I'm using is more than 2 yards. It's like 4 yards, but I'm going to, at the end of the day, I'm using just 2 yards out of it. I didn't cut it because I'm going to still use it to do other things, so that's why I didn't cut it. But to make this trouser, it will require you to use just 2 yards. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'll come on the crotch line. Okay, so here I'll come on this crotch line and mark 3 inches. Then I'll just reduce the back fabric a little so that I don't waste. So I make sure it's 3 inches on this crotch line. It's very simple, and you notice that when I place the front panel, I kind of drew it down a little to allow me to mark that 1 inch up on the back panel. Okay, I'm going to still show you later in case my camera didn't really capture that point. At that hip line, I will extend the line so that you see what I'm doing. I mark 3 inches on this crotch line, came on the hip line and marked 2 inches. All right, and then at the upper part I mark 1 inches, and then I'll connect. Very simple. I'll come on that crotch line, I'll go down by 0.7. all right, you see what I'm doing, and then I also connect it back, connect the curve back. So that is very simple. 1.5 at the upper part, 2 inches on the hip line, 3 inches on the curve line, come down by 0.7 and then cut. Very simple. Here on the front panel, I will reduce 1 inch. You will see what I'm doing. Now the camera is set. Here on the front panel, I'll reduce 1 inch, use my curve ruler and curve it to that same allowance line. You see what I did? Very simple. Curve and stop. Okay, I'm also going to show this part again and explain it much later at the end of the video. I will extend this line so that you know where you're sewing. This is 1 and maybe 1, it's not up to 1.5. The hip line is 2 inches, the crotch line is 3 inches. I came down by 0.7. It's very simple. Now I'm going to show you how to do this part. At this base is 1 inches, and then coming down here I did 2 inches, and I'm going to connect it. I'm going to connect this 3 inches on the curve to that 2 inches. As you're coming down, you just keep reducing your hand. Okay, so from that, this line 2 inches, as you're coming down, maybe 1.5 to that 1 inch at the base. It's quite simple, but I'm also going to show a practical example. From my crotch line at the back, I marked 8 inches downwards. There I marked 2 inches. Do you understand? I also marked 8 inches. There I marked 1.5. I marked 8 inches again, and I measured 1.5. At the base, the tip, the down part, I just measured 1 inch. This is just a way to simplify what I mean by if you're coming down, you just keep reducing your hand. At this other part, I'm also going to shape it using the front panel. So exactly how that front panel is what I am just cutting out, following the front panel that I placed on top of it. It's very, very simple. at the base, because when I was placing the front panel, I kind of brought it down, so you find out that the front panel will be longer at the tip, that's the base. Okay, and this I will just have to trim it. This allowed me to get the upper part to be 1 inch higher. I'm also going to explain everything I'm saying here so that you understand what I mean. I'll go ahead to measure my total length, and it still gave me 45 inches. All right, now when I turn this, I'm going to now explain in detail what I've been doing. I'll go back to join this, to just place this thing back so that you see what I've been doing. I place this back. This is the front panel that I cut out initially, so I'm placing it back. What I simply did was, on the back panel, I raised it by 1 inch so that it can be higher than the front panel. Okay, raised it and connected it at the seam allowance. All right, on the front panel, I also minused 1 inch, and this is it. I just cut it out using my curved ruler. Here was 1 and 1, or can call it 1.5. Okay, but it's not up to 1.5. all right, so on this hip line I measured 2 inches, and then on the crotch line I marked 3 inches, then came down by 0.7. so this is the crotch line initially, and then I came down by 0.7. Later I'm going to show you why it is necessary to come down by that 0.7, what the significance of that reduction. All right, now that I've done that, I showed you that when you're coming down, you just do it practically by 8 inches, just 8 inches downward, 8 inches downward, and then you reduce gradually as you're coming down at the base. It's very simple. Okay, I hope you understand what I've done so far. If you don't, please, on the comment section, just ask me any question, and I feel free to ask and I will answer. I'll go ahead to notch, and then this is the reason why we're reducing that 0.7. When you fold this, we call it crotch tester. You're going to test that your crotch line will align, that's the back and the front will align at this point. Now the reason why they will align is because you reduced it by 0.7. very simple. And this is how you cut your loose wide trouser. On the next video, I'm also going to show you how to join. Thank you for watching my video. Bye.